into the 16th Region Districts preview show. I'm James Collier, joined with a great panel of guests here. These are all of the voters that you see each week when we do our Kool TV Boys and Girls Top 10s. I'll start to my right, let them go down and introduce each other to themselves. So start with Spencer.
Spencer Hutchison. Everybody pretty much knows who I am.
Jacob Hankins.
Hager Easterling.
Bill Bradley, the oldest of the crew.
Oldest of the crew. We get the two coaches down there at the end, and we talked about this a little bit throughout the week and thought, this would be a fun thing to put together. But, you're getting into the last couple of weeks of the regular season, and we've got some district games going on tonight, a couple on Friday night that will seal some things up. But some of the districts are already taken care of. And Coach Bradley, I'll start with you down there. It's one of those things when you look at this late of the season, is it better to have your district already wrapped up and know where you are? Or do you like that competitive nature of having to play yourself into that last seed of whatever you're trying to get to?
Well, one of the depends on your health of your team, for one thing. But I always kind of like this position as knowing where you are at this time of year. That way you know what you have to work for. You look at the rest of your schedule, see what you have to do. But I'd rather know where I am at this stage.
Coach E, what about you when you coached?
Yeah, I wanted to wrap it up in January if you could. I mean, that way you know who you really need to focus in on scouting too. So as fast as possible for me.
Well, we'll break it down here in just a moment, and we'll go through both the boys and the girls. Across the bottom of your screen, that is our latest top 10. So the boys and the girls scrolling across the bottom of your screen there, and that's what we do is we all submit our ballots. We tabulate it up, and those are on our Kool TV page each and every Monday morning. We put it at 8 o'clock. Again, if you're just now joining us here on Kool TV, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up if you see something you like. Hit that bell. We had a milestone last night, our 3,000th subscriber that checked in. And it's just something about looking at the number of viewers that you have, and you look down and you see 2.97K, 2.98K, 2.99K, and all of a sudden, Spencer, it goes to 3K, and that's a pretty cool, remarkable thing that we've been able to put together in just a little bit over a year.
Yeah, I finally followed Kool TV last night.
Well, it's about time. Yeah, he was probably trying to get to 3,000 is what it was.
Yeah, I was waiting to be the number 3,000. No, listen, I don't think people understand. I met Jim Forrest at Texas Roadhouse. He met with Jeff Irwin at Texas Roadhouse. He pretty much told you before he even met with us, this is what we're going to do. And we kind of just combined and put out a product at the beginning of last year, and it's just been a blast. And every game, every single event we do, each sporting event that we do, we get better, and I think we've got the best broadcast in the area.
Absolutely. So. Jacob, you're the new guy with us here, just now joining us. But for you, how much has it been for you trying to one, settle in and understand what's going on, but two, trying to find a way to make it your own of what you're trying to do?
I'm still trying to figure stuff out. There's a lot of stuff that I don't really know how to do and how it needs to look and all that stuff. So
he does a great job.
Yeah. So, we lost Ben Spicer, and Ben is still with us in person. He's in Florida, but Ben is still one of our voters. He stays with us on basketball. He still helps us out on stuff. But he hooked up with Jacob, and they they did a little bit of stuff during the Ironton Classic, and then he got a hold of me. He said, "Hey, man," he said, "I think I got a guy that's wanted to help us out." And so that's kind of where Jacob came in, and then a position when Ben moved off to Tallahassee, that opened up his position, and Jacob's kind of hit it with the ground running. We greatly appreciate everything that you've done. Guys, what we've got as well on YouTube, if you've got a question that you want to connect to the panel, you can send that to us. We've got one in there wanting to talk about the tiebreakers, and we'll get to those in just a little bit because, Coach, you know all too well, when you get into district tiebreakers, nothing across the board is ever the same.
That's true, James. Most of them go head-to-head first. A lot of them used to have point differential for a while, but coaches kind of got tired of that. They didn't want to see somebody, trying to run up the score because of that. So I think most of them go to either a coin flip or actually draw like they do.
Appeal draw. Yeah, that's what they do in the 62nd. If they were to have a tie, of course, East Carter was playing for a tie. If they would have beat Morgan, they would have went and did appeal draw. It kind of worked itself out, though.
So we'll break it all down as we go through it and stuff as we work through this. But Coach Bradley, I'm going to start down there with you. Well, we're going to start first with the girls. What's the one thing this season that you've noticed that has been maybe, not I want to say shocking, but maybe has caught your attention with the way that the girls' teams have really lined up?
Well, obviously, we kind of thought before it started it might be a three-team race, and it sure turned into that. And, you know, and with the injury to Taylor Bartram in Boyd County, you know, I know Pete will get things lined out by district, he hopes. But, you know, the way it looks right now is now almost a two-team race now between Russell and Ashland. And the gap, you know, I knew there'd be some kind of gap between those three and the rest of them, but the gap's really a little bit larger than I thought it would be to start the season off.
Coach, when you look at like what he was talking about, you expect a three-team race, and you go back to now it's down to probably two, and take nothing away from Pete Fraley and Boyd County, but we talked about this off the air. When you lose your point guard, it takes away so much of what you want to do, especially when you have teams that can effectively press you on the basketball.
Yeah, you can go back. I remember when Hager lost his point guard, was it Baldwin?
Yes.
And he was by far the best team in the region that year going in. And that really put a detriment on what he had to go through. And of course, I lost Mikasa Robinson one year. And the regional final, my last year, we're up on Boyd 10-4, and our point guard, Kenley Woods, goes down. And basically the game was over. So, you know, Pete, they have to go through that with no experience backup. Jenna Ray's a really good guard, but as far as experience goes, she may not be quite ready to handle that chore yet. So he'll come up with something, but you're right. You lose your point guard, you're in big trouble.
Coach E, when you look at what you've got with, especially in girls basketball, with the pressure that you see each and every night from Ashland, the pressure you see from Russell, the pressure that you would see from Boyd County minus Taylor Bartram, how much do you go back and say this is a two-team race?
Yeah, I think so. You know, anybody can be beaten on a given night. I've coached long enough to know that. But, man, it's tough. It's kind of like, you know, trying to drive the car without the steering wheel in there when you lose Bartram. But those teams, I'll tell you what's amazed me, James, is last year, for example, I hadn't seen Ashland play in person. I'd seen them play several times on TV. And we go to that first game where it's regional, and Ashland comes out against Round County. And I turned around to Dickie in the first minute of the game. I said, man, they're fast. I mean, they're really fast. And it is. But, yeah, point guards, high school and college, of course, you guys all know this, it's such a game that's dominated by guards. And the pros, you know, you can play a power forward at point guard and whatever, but you got to have good guards to win in high school and college.
Jacob, for you, you've covered both of the Ashland-Boyd County games. You had the Ashland-Russell game, so you've seen those teams in action against each other. What's the one thing that you've taken away from what you've seen between those three teams that kind of makes one stand out over the other?
Like Coach E said, Ashland is really fast. Like, hard to stop somebody so quick. And I think with Boyd County, the girls having two bigs that they're not slower, but they're not quick enough as the guards. I think that's what really separates Ashland from the top.
Spencer, when you look at the speed that we talk about with Ashland, and Coach Bradley, we were talking about this last night, is that Pete did about everything that he possibly could do to try to slow Ashland down. And all it takes is one thing to go sideways, and it's a 10-0 run, and that's exactly what happened.
Listen, Pete had Coach, he had a great formula. The only formula you could have drawn up to beat him, I think he put his girls in the best situation. But go back to what, you know, Coach E and Coach Bradley said down there. You know, it's kind of like driving the car without the steering wheel. If you lose a point guard at the amateur level of basketball, whether it's college or it's high school, you're in big, big trouble. And you know, listen, Boyd County, even without her, would probably beat 90% of the teams around here. But the thing about it is, I think that Ashland and Russell are so much better than everybody. If you lose them, you just, especially, and you noticed it because they pressed them. When they pressed them, they got in big trouble because you got inexperience and youth. It's nobody's fault. It's just the nature of the beast. You know, they had inexperience there, and Russell pressed them. Mandy Lane knew what she was doing. I mean, that's just one of those things. And but you know what? I know we're talking about district, but that region, don't forget about Boyd County. I'm telling you, they're not out of it yet. I mean, we've seen this story before. Teams lose by 30 or 40 and then go on to win the region. So.
Without a doubt. All right, let's jump into the girls' top 10. Here we go. This was this past week's, posted on Monday. It was a consensus across the board, guys. It was Ashland number 1, Russell was number 2, Boyd County number 3. And ever since the Bartram injury and then Ashland defeating Russell heads up, it's been a consensus 1, 2, 3 across the board for all 6 of us that's been voting. When we get into that next tier of teams, do we agree that 4 and 5 is one tier and then 6 on down, or do we bring another team into that? Coach Bradley, I'll start with you down there at the end.
The way it looks, I mean, yeah, you could almost pick them out of a hat, really, even almost after the top 3. You know, I think if 5 or 6 or 7 could beat each other, no matter who they play. You know, I know they've done a real good job, and I've seen almost all the teams play. But like I said, you pick them out of a hat. I think except for maybe the last 4, 5, 6 teams in the region, I think even 4 through 7 could beat each other.
Coach E, when you look at the groupings that are there, do you agree with kind of what I put out there, or do you see a different concept? And on the backside of that, those teams that are in 6 through 10, do you see a team that can maybe push? They're coming into the districts and region that can push up in the top 5.
First of all, great graphics, man. That's really cool. that looks really good. After about the first 2 weeks of the season, James, I said, and I wasn't trying to be smart aleck to anybody, I said not only will those top 3 teams not lose to anybody else in the region, they won't come within 15 points. So far, they haven't. Now, I'm kind of like you. I would put Bath County and Fleming County in the 2nd tier by themselves right now, and then the rest of them kind of fall in after that. Those 2 teams have really improved, Bath County and Fleming County, but I just don't think anything can happen again on a given night, but I don't think anybody's beating one of those top 3 teams outside of each other.
Jacob, you looked at the 63rd. You had that last night. Raceland and Greenup County met up down there at the greenhouse in the boy-girl doubleheader. Girls went to Raceland, boys went to Greenup. We'll talk about them a little bit later on. But last night, Raceland clinches no worse than the 2 seed. They've got a big one this Saturday coming up with Russell, and trying to knock off Russell for the first time in what would be the first district loss for the Red Devils in 66 games. So it's not an unmonumental task, but yeah, actually it is. But let's just call a spade a spade. But you look at what Marty Thomas has done with his team in his 2nd year. They're flipping the script. They've got themselves into the 2 seed, and it's no secret when you play in the 63rd, the primary goal is to stay away from that 4 seed and not have to play Russell in that first game.
Yeah, I really like what Marty's done here at Raceland. He's really has flipped it around. Looking at the graphics, I think you maybe could put Raceland in that 4 and 5 range, but I think that's the only other team that could get up that high.
Spencer, you look at some of those other teams there. Rowan County, they were up in that upper tier. Matt Stokes, a young team, again, first year with post-basketball after Haven Ford. They had the other back injury early on. That took some of that away. And here recently, they've kind of slid backward after a good start. East Carter and Matt Clark is doing some phenomenal stuff out there in Grayson. They had a really good start. They've lost some games maybe that they shouldn't have. They've taken a couple of tough losses, but they're right there in the mix of the 62nd.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what pretty much everybody else said. I think the top 3, and then there's a significant gap. I'm talking a big gap. And then, I still think Bath County's 4th best team. I've got to watch them a couple of times. They're a tough team, can shoot the ball really well, had Russell down to half in the OVC regular season tournament. So I still think they're the 4th best team, and I think Fleming's in that bracket also. But after number 5, I think the gap is not as significant as it would be from 3 to 4, but I think that there's a gap there. And as far as 6 through 10, no. I just don't see any of those teams making, a Cinderella run.
Well, let's dig into the districts as they are. So these are the district standings as of tonight. And remember, tonight, this is Wednesday. We're doing this live. There are teams that are playing district games tonight, including in the 62nd and in the 61st. But you look at Bath County, they have right now a 4-2 record in the district. Fleming County's at 4-1. Rowan County at 2-3. They play this evening. Menifee County, they're in at the bottom. The only thing that could happen is if Fleming County beats Rowan, now you've got a top of the team. That 2 teams there would be, if Rowan beats Fleming, you'd have Fleming tied. Fleming wins that game, they go to the top. Coach, when you look at what you've got there, Fleming County, Bath County, it's kind of a coin toss that you've had here, and kind of I think we've shuffled them around a little bit, but Bath County here lately, they've kind of been peaking at the right moment.
That's me.
Yeah, go on down there, Coach Bradley.
Yeah, they have been, and they've done a good job all year. And I just look at some of the scores as far as tightness goes in that district. Bath only beat Menifee by 5 earlier in the year, and but yeah, it's going to come down to those top 2 teams, and I think it's that won't change by the end of the year.
Coach E, when you look at Rowan County and what Matt Stokes has done this year, again, you know what it's like when you lose that star player, because you had some really good players that came through your time there at East Carter. When you go to that next season, there's a lot of things that has to be kind of figured out, how to learn how to walk again before you can take off running. And Coach has really kind of experienced that this year. He's had the ebbs and flows throughout the season, and unfortunately, he's hit a really big ebb on the back end of the season.
Yeah, he has. You know, you lose Haven Ford, you're not going to be better next year. You're not going to be as good. I don't care what happens. But I've got 2 quick trivia questions for everybody. When's the last time Rowan County's girls did not make it to the region? Anybody know? Real quick.
I'm saying,
Maybe mid-'80s.
I'm saying
17. Believe it or not, Menifee County beat them.
Wow.
All right, the other one is, if you listen to our show, you'll know the answer to this one. When's the last time Bath County won this district tournament?
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
guesses.
See how many of you listen to our show. Okay.
I said that to Dickie the other day. I said, you guys got a show?
The answer is never. Bath
Wow.
County has
Never won the district.
The girls' district tournament. They came into the region in '97. The last time they won a district tournament was '85 when they were in the 10th region. And I really think those 2 things are going to happen this year, in my opinion, James. I think Brown County is not going to go, and I think Bath County is going to win the district for the first time ever in their history in this region.
There we go. Big prediction
Yeah.
from Coach right out of the gate. All right, let's go to the 60 seconds. Spencer, I'll let you kind of dive in here. Morgan County has a team that a new head coach. They lose a 2,000-plus point score.
They did.
From Hampton last year, but you look at their district standings. They're 4-1. They've got a matchup tonight with Elliott County. They win that game, they're the 1 seed in the 62nd district, and I think that would probably be one of your bigger shockers going into this of what this would be. If they fall in this game, East Carter's still got that game with Elliott County still to play out, and East could play into a coin flip with Morgan because they split in the regular season.
Yeah, and that early in the season, you would not have suspected this. I mean, East Carter actually went to West Liberty and defeated Morgan County on the road. I mean, Morgan County's a really, really good team. So is East Carter. Elliott County's really good. And you know what? Though, James, what was it, 2 nights ago, West Carter defeated Elliott. Yeah. So, this district is wide open. I don't know. I can't put a favor on this because I don't want to doubt Matt Clark because I've seen the way he coaches. He's a really good coach also. The Elliott County's good. West Carter's really young. But you've seen it. They put it together finally the other night, and they were able to get a big win over Elliott. You may not think that's a big win. That's a huge win for them. I think that I know for sure they start 1 8th grader. They may start 2. So they've got a lot of inexperience, but the talent is there. This district is wide open. Like you said, East Carter and Morgan have kind of split, and Elliott County's just sitting there. That 6-11, it does not describe that team. That's a pretty good team, James. So I think this is the wild district to watch, and whoever they send out is going to be well represented. 6 seconds is going to be well represented at the region anyways.
And you talk about West Carter, and again, it's life after Allie Stone of everything that she did rewriting the record books out there in Olive Hill. And then Faith Collin, the head coach out of West Carter, she was ready to get things rolling this year, and first practice of the season, her point guard blows her ACL. So, it's just kind of a bugaboo falling right on top of each other. But should be interesting, 62nd district this year over at West Carter. All right, let's go to the 63rd. Russell, no shocker. They're at the top of the standings. They're 18-6 on the year. 65 consecutive district wins from Andy Lane. And she's, by the way, she is the most tenured coach in the girls' ranks right now through the 16th region. Her and Jay Fight, number 1 and number 2. Raceland, a surging 4-1 in the district, a big win last night over Greenup, so that locked them for sure into no worse than the second. Greenup and Lewis County, the way the 63rd district will play, they split in the regular season, so they will flip a coin to determine who gets the 3 and who gets the 4. Jacob, when you look at these 4 teams right here, Russell is no shocker, but again, 2 and 3, maybe a little bit. 4 was a rebuilding year for Jay Fight, and then they took another big loss when they lost Maddie Johnson again with the wrist injury after the game against Braceland the other night up in Vanceburg.
I think Raceland's a lot better than their 11-11 record shows. They can shoot the ball and have some decent size on the inside. And that game last night, they just forced Greenup to take some shots that Raceland wanted Greenup to take. And as a coach for Greenup, you don't want your kids taking. And I think that was the big exclamation point in that game.
Coach Bradley, real quick, when you have a game like what we saw last night with Raceland and Greenup down at the Greenhouse, that's where the 63rd District is going to play this year. How much confidence does that give Raceland if Greenup draws that 3 seed of knowing, hey, we played you on the floor that we're going to play in that district tournament, and we took care of business, no problem?
Yes, if they didn't have played them or have lost them earlier in the year, they might, kind of halfway pull for Lawrence to come to that 3 spot to get Greenup off their home floor. But with that victory last night, Marty's such a confident guy, and the girl plays with confidence. You and I did the race on the Ashland game, and for a quarter it was tied, and for a half it wasn't out of hand at all. And so the confidence factor is there for Raceland, and so I don't think it'll matter to them one way or the other.
We go to the 64th, and 64th's a little awkward because they only take the first meeting that they play. They play twice, but Ashland took care of business with Boyd and Fairview. Boyd County took the win over Fairview, and then Fairview comes in at 0-2. But we've talked so much about what Stacey Davis has done. First year there, she wins the region. This year, they're rolling things out. They were ranked 10th in the state this week. For the second week in a row, they've hit the top 10. But it all starts, Spencer, with Kenley Woods and what she does. And the biggest difference that I've watched with Kenley, and I know Coach Bradley's going to shake his head as soon as I say this, she's learned how to shoot off of 2 feet.
Absolutely. This is, Coach E, I don't know if he said it on commercial or he may have said it when we were live, how athletic and fast this team is. They like to push the ball, and as you know, with Boyd County without their starting point guard, that's trouble. And it's unfortunate there's only 3 teams in this district. I think I'm kind of speaking the language of everybody else. Not putting a 4th team in there. We're going to have to do something about that. I mean, it's an advantage a little bit. You got to think of it because everybody else has to compete against 3 other teams. And I'm not saying that these are not the 2 best teams regardless, no matter what. But, something has to be done about that. And we see it kind of in the boys' side a little bit too. So something has to be done. You're going to have to put a permanent 4 in there, not just whenever they feel like playing in it.
Well, I mean, the other team is Rose Hill, and they do not field a team, so that's the reason there's not a 4th team
That's
there
what I'm saying.
On the girls' side of things. And again, when you've got a team that you're at the mercy of your enrollment, that's kind of where you have to go with it. So that's where we look at it from there. Coach, when you look at Boyd County, Coach Bradley, I'll start with you. And again, we talked about the loss of Bartram, but you can't overlook what they have there with Jasmine Jordan and Audrey Biggs. And of course, Jasmine Jordan, with Biggs out last year, she really came on so big, and how much she has played dividends to that team of allowing her to have her season. So this year, it's not anything uncommon for her to have to step up and take that new role.
No, obviously she's the most dominant big player in the region by far, I think. And and Audrey can go inside as well, and that's what they did last night. I think they combined for 41 of the 47 or 48 points last night, and they can do that to anybody in the region. Now, it's just a matter of them just taking care of the ball. If they can take care of the ball, get to a wing, and have them take turns going inside and outside to each other even, they could cause some damage. But again, you said with Ashland's speed, and if you're ranking the top, 11, 12 players in the region, Ashland might have 4 of them. With Kinley and Ella and Jaden Gully playing the way she is, and Gabby Carley. You can't count her out either. They just got 4 really good starters, and adequate big person, and Ariana Gully, and then, like Hager said, the best bench in the region, I think.
Coach E, when you look at what this team has, when we talk about Ashland, Russell, Boyd County, the 3 favorites, the crazy thing of it is 2 of those 3 are going to meet each other in the semifinals if it plays out. And we looked at it last year. Ashland had to run the gauntlet. They played Rowan County with Haven Ford in the first round. They beat Shaylin Steele and Russell in the second round, and then the championship game against Boyd County. One of the 3 teams has to run the gauntlet, and it's one of those things with the 64th every single year. You're going to play as a district champion. You're either going to play Ashland or Boyd County as the runner-up, and that is not the one that you want to be drawing.
That's a good reward, isn't it? For winning the district. And none of us, James, if I remember right, none of us, after the draw came out, none of us thought that Round or Ashland would win it because they were going to have to beat all 3. But we had Bill on the show a couple weeks ago after the first Ashland-Boyd game when Ashland won. I told him, I said, I'm so happy for those girls at Ashland, not because they won the game last night, but because they finally got a coach out there that knows what he's doing.
About time.
Coach, you knew there was some shade going to come from that real quick.
About time, yeah.
No, you're exactly right about the draw. There's going to be some nervous hands in over there because obviously Ashland and Boyd's going to be on opposite sides of the bracket. So whichever one of them gets Russell on their side of the bracket is probably not going to be happy.
And I think that's always a given. And, you know, it's one of the things we love about when we get into the districts and you get into the region draw, and we do the region draw show there from Morehead, and we do our predictions and everything. And, again, last year, I think it was a clear cut across the board. It was who was going to draw opposite of Ashland or Boyd, and we felt like that was going to be the favorite. And we felt like Boyd County was going to have the best draw, and they did. They worked themselves into the championship. But it was just something about Ashland. They were playing really well coming out of districts. They played really well against Rowan County. And I know I talked with even Stacy after the game. I said, how big do you feel like that Rowan County game set you up for that march that you had to do? They said, we had to play a physical style of basketball. It wasn't one of those cupcake games that maybe you don't play your best. We had a chance to get our nerves out of the way, but we had to play good competition. And then you get into that grueling game against Russell. Yeah. They didn't get out of the 50s. That game was high 40s for the final, and then they take care of Boyd in just dominant fashion. But it was interesting to see how they thought about that as it worked through. And again, I think we're going to see another recipe with those three teams there at the top. Can somebody else find some magic in a bottle and be able to knock one of them off? Spencer, again, it's no secret across the board. We feel like, and I think everybody in the consensus this area feels like it's a three-team race and maybe even down to two.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think anybody else is close. I'm just being honest. I hate to say it like that, but hey, that's something in the world that you don't hear a lot of is the truth. And listen, we're not going to sugarcoat it. That we don't do that. Not everybody gets a prize here. I think I think it'll be Boyd, Ashland, or Russell, and I don't think anybody else is even close. Matter of fact, I'd say Raceland and Russell will play in the 63rd girls tournament, and I bet Russell wins between 20 and 30 points.
You know, the one thing, again, you look at it, how it plays out, and you just never know of how one thing can go. But it's something about the way that Mandy's team plays. And Coach E, you've coached against her. Coach Bradley, you've coached against Mandy. It can be one of those games that it's 10 points, then it's 7 points, then it's 10 again, then it's 3, and then all of a sudden it's 20. Yeah. And it's just something about when they find that niche, when the ball goes through the basket and they jump out in that press, you better hang on because the next time that you're going to see the basketball go across midcourt may be 2-3 minutes from then.
I call it the gas pedal effect.
Yeah.
Good teams have a gas pedal.
Yeah.
And they'll allow you to sit in the game for a while. You're feeling pretty good. Hey, we're not playing too bad. And then your mom and dad go to the concession stand, get a popcorn or pop, and they come back, you're down 25. It's called the gas pedal effect.
That's the Spencer Hutchinson term here.
Hey, listen.
We need to make I should have made a graphic for that, the gas pedal effect.
Is that not what happens? Though? You see, every good team has a gas pedal effect.
Art Kellogg calls it spurtability.
Yeah. Spurtability for certainly is one of the things I think that Ashland and Russell have this year that they can do that is you make the wrong decision and all of a sudden, boom, it's 6, it's 8, it's 10 points, and then it's just one of those things. Right as you feel like, and Coach Bradley, you and I, when we did that Raceland game, it was 17-17 after one quarter of play, and you're like, wow, this is a basketball game. And then it was just all of a sudden, boom. Raceland didn't score a field goal until 2 minutes gone in the third quarter. They had 3 points, all 3 of those coming from the free throw line in the second quarter.
They did, and it's not like they lost confidence. They played the same brand of ball, but Ashland just turned it up, 6 notches defensively the last 2 quarters, the second and third quarter, and it was over in a heartbeat. It went from tied to down 16 in about 2 minutes. And the same thing really happened to Boyd County last night. We went from 10 to 18 in about a minute and a half. And just Kentley shooting layups and a couple threes, and then it's over with. With Mandy, Mandy's really good at coming up with game plans too. She likes to get there and press and do all that. And of course, Ashland's not going to change. They're going to go up and down all the time. But Mandy will gear it down because I coached against her. We had those really good teams, and she would press. But against us, she'd sit down, grind it out, and won the game in the 40s and 50s. And that's all back to see. That's what the game was the first time they played this year. It was in the 50s. And of course, Shaylin fouled out with about 2.5 minutes left. It was like a 4 or 5 point game, and I'm sure she'll get on her about staying in the game. And but I look for it to be Russell wanted a low-scoring game, but Ashland wants to get it up in the 70s and 80s.
Absolutely.
One of the most dangerous teams, though, going back, is a team with their back against the wall. You get Ashland against the wall, you get Russell or Boyd, then you might see the best basketball you've seen all year out of one of those teams.
Yep.
Well, sometimes it takes that. And you know, like you guys said, it was 17-17. What was the final score of that game?
It was running clock.
Exactly. Their back was against the wall for a little
Yep.
bit, and then Ashland put together their best 2.5
Yep.
quarters they probably played all year. No offense to Raceland, but there wasn't anybody in this region beating Ashland the way they played the last 2.5 quarters of that game.
Absolutely. All right, let's move over to the boys' side of things now. So we'll look at the top 10 that we had for this week. We'll go through the list as we've had some shuffling moving around here because of some ways some games went and some stuff that happened. But it's a clear cut. It's across the board, all 6 voters. Boyd County number 1. The shifting took place this week when Rowan County laid one on Fleming County, which was a big game. Ashland fell to Cuffcath, who is ranked in the top 10 in the state, but it was a tight game over at Anderson. But then they lost to Boyd County again in overtime. But that difference was enough to move Ashland into a clear cut, I think, across the board. Everybody was Ashland number 2. Everybody was Rowan County number 3. Everybody,
wasn't.
or no, you what? Yeah, you were the lone duck. So 1 and 2 was consensus. Coach E, I'll start with you. When you look at Ashland and Boyd County, is it a 2-team race, or do we have teams there that's going to make a run at some of this?
Well, again, on a given night, of course, but I think those teams 3, 4, and 5, Round, Fleming, Morgan, I think they have the capability to maybe beat one of those teams if one of those teams are off just a little bit. Morgan they can make 12, 13 threes. They would have to play really well, those 3 teams, I think. To me, those 2 we talk about tiers with the girls. You got Boyd and Ashland, first tier. I would put 3, 4, 5 in the next tier. And if I'm thinking right, I don't think 3, 4, and 5 have lost to anybody else in the region except Boyd or Ashland. Man, I mean, on a given night, anybody can go down. But if one of those 3 teams could beat Boyd or Ashland, I don't think one of those other 3 teams could win 3 games to win the region, though.
Jacob, you're the new guy here. When you look at the rankings that we've had, and you kind of got into this late, but what's been the team that has kind of outside of that 1 and 2 tier? Where do you put your tiers on that 2nd and that 3rd tier when you look at your groupings?
I think, like Coach E said, 3, 4, and 5 are their own tier, and then the rest is their own. Fleming County, I think maybe we could slide them back up to 3 because they can shoot the ball really well.
And Round lost by 40 at Boyd County the day after they beat Fleming. That's a good reason, too.
But I just think Boyd County runs the region this year. Now, I know upsets can happen, and a lot of stuff has to go down, but I think Boyd's pretty much pulled away.
Can I add off what he said?
Yeah, go ahead, and then I'll go to Coach Bradley because I got something for Coach Bradley to throw in this one.
I agree with what you're saying, absolutely, 100%. But what was it? A couple of years ago, Jeremy Webb's West Carter Comet team had the best team that the 16th region ever had. Colin Porter and Cole.
They were beat.
And they had him beat.
Yeah.
And that team was carried. I shouldn't say that's going to offend somebody, but their best player was Lettingham. Their best player was Lettingham, and we went in, if we would have done a show before that, say, oh, nobody's even getting close to Ashland. Nobody even close. They were beat, and if it wasn't for Colin Porter 3 at the end of the game,
A deep
that
3-2, by the
saved
way.
them.
Tyson Webb was the best player that night.
That night, Tyson Webb balled
Yes,
out. I think he finished
yes.
with like 33 points,
Absolutely.
I think it was.
Hey, West Carter had them beat. So, listen, I said this a couple of times. I've heard James say it also. This is the most open the region tournament has been in several years. Usually there's a very heavy favorite. Now, I do think Boyd and Ashland are the 2 best teams, but are they unbeatable? Absolutely not. I think that, all it takes is a bad shooting night by one of those 2 teams, and a team like Rowan, a team like Fleming, a team like Morgan. And don't forget, Graham County's good, Russell's good, East Carter's good, Raceland's not bad. And there's some other teams that you could throw in there, but I'm telling you, it's open. Don't be surprised if we see one of those big upsets.
Coach Bradley, I've said this openly. I said I compare the Boyd County team this year, Randy Anderson, they've got a great group of kids. They've got tons of scoring options all across the board. But they're kind of like the peak years of Peyton Manning in Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. You know when you get off the bus, you're down 35 points because Peyton was going to put 35 up that night. And you got to go out and score them.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is, though, is if a team can force Boyd County to have to sit down and guard them, how much does that change what the Lions can do, especially when you put them on the bigger floor and you add that extra 10 feet, and you guys know all well as I do, when we add that extra 10 feet to that college floor, you can get your spacing off, you can get some things opened up. And we saw it last year. There was a couple teams. Lewis County hits their free throws, Boyd County goes down to semifinals.
Absolutely.
Well, if East Carter hits their free throws, they go down to the quarterfinals.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not unheard of, but I mean, I'm not taking it away. I think it's Boyd County's to lose this year. But, Coach, when you get on the big floor and you know all about this, it comes down. You've got to be able to play some defense and get some stops.
You do. It's funny you say that because a buddy of mine and I were talking today. Boyd County is really, I think, the last 3 or 4 games has decided to play some defense this year. And, Spurlock kid is really getting after on defense. And the Red Holbrook is, he's already drawn. I'm good friends with him, and I think he's drawn 13 charges already this year. And they're doing things like that. I think they've really adopted. Obviously, I just told Hager before we started, the last 6 games, they're averaging 91 points a game. Mm-hmm. But I think their defense, that's the difference between this year's team and last year's, especially the last few games. They've decided to play some defense. If they keep that up, then they are going to be really hard to beat. But
one of the unsung heroes with Boyd County, we talk about Jacob Spurlock. His number speaks for itself. Cole Hicks does his stuff. Jason Ellis is a double-double every night. Red Holbrook, what he does. But the unsung hero for this team is Griff Taylor. Mm-hmm. And you look at what he's shooting, his field goal percentage is ridiculous. He can average 5 to 6 assists a night, and he's a dead eye when he gets to the free throw line. And when you've got a guy like that has so much basketball IQ, he moves that team where it needs to go because of the way that he plays.
And he's not afraid of the moment either. He hit a huge 3 the other night against Ashland, I think in the 4th quarter. Mm-hmm. So he, obviously, Brad's his dad, and he comes from good lineage there. And,
yes.
That goes back to the old Calipari days. And but you're right. He's just as important as, if not more, than some of the other guys on that team. You're right.
You guys look at Ashland and what they've done, and Coach Bonner, took over last year in a very difficult situation. Yes. And what they do, they go out and they win the region again. This year, you've still got Xander Carter there, but he's got some collection of pieces that had to fill in a lot of great players that left. But Tyson Lalone has done a really good job. They've got Braxton Jennings, just an all-around athlete across the board. Cam Davis has stepped in big. Nate Freeze has been huge for them down in the post. It's a different-looking Ashland team, but you look at what Ashland was able to do when they played Cuffcath, and Jacob, you were at that game. Cuffcath had a dude. I mean, he was a stud, the Miller kid in the post, and still Cuffcath only got out of Ashland with a 7-point win.
Yeah, that game really was probably a 2-point game because the fouls and stuff at the end that they needed. But I think Ashland played really well with Miller because he was a big kid. Like, he was one of the biggest kids they faced all year, if not the biggest kid they faced all year. So trying to shut somebody down like that, it's just nearly impossible in high school.
Guys, you look at the second half of your rankings there, and how crazy when you look at it. You got all 4 teams in the 63rd, 6, 7, 9, and 10. And guys, you've been around me long enough, and you've been around Joe Bryan long enough. You've heard this phrase I'm getting ready to utter. The 63rd is going to 63rd every single year. And we saw it last year. Lewis County, they were not picked to do anything. And what they do, they won the whole thing. When you look at this year, it's been a kind of an up and down year. Greenup, again, 13-11. They've won some games maybe they weren't supposed to, but they've won some games they were supposed to lose. And Coach Corey Allison is doing a phenomenal job down there in Greenup. Anybody jump in?
You got kind of, just East Carter kind of sitting in the middle there. The one thing about East Carter, though, is they've got wins over Lewis County, Raceland, and Greenup. They also have a loss to Lewis County, too. I didn't need to mention that. So, but no, I agree. The 63rd is definitely the most open on the boys' side. A tournament that'll be, it's unfortunate that only 2 teams get to go because, I watched Russell and Boyd County play last night. That was a good game for a while. Mm-hmm. Russell was right in that game, youth and experience a little bit, and Boyd County's a good team. I mean, just put it what it is.
Boyd County has the ability to grab that next gear.
They do, and Boyd County's a good team. They're a team that, let's say they win the region, they're good enough to go down to Rupp and win a couple games. I mean, they're a pretty good team. I still think they're a top 25 team, and I think Ashland's a top 25 team in the state. But I just, like you guys said, I think the top 5. Let me say this though. I think Rowan County, if they come out and hit threes like they can, and Hoskins plays like he can, don't be surprised if they find their way at the regional final. I mean, they're a good team, man, really good.
All right, let's go to the 61st. So here's the way the district standings currently sit. Rowan and Fleming, they're tied at 4-1. They have split, winning on their home floors. They're going to play in the 1 and 2 seed. That's not going to happen. This basically the district is set other than 1 and 2. Menifee County at 2 and 3. They've still got the 1 game. Bath County's got 1 game left. These games will play on Friday night. I think one of them actually playing tonight. But Coach, when you look at this game or this bracket here, Coach Bradley, I'll start with you. It's been Rowan and Fleming all season long. It's not even been close. And Menifee County, they've got the Ricker kid. I mean, he is a phenomenal basketball player. But it's just they've not been able, whenever they've got him going, they've not had the pieces of the puzzle to keep things rolling the way they needed to.
Yeah, I've seen all 4 of these teams play, in fact, this year. And, this is one I can just look at. I'd be really shocked if it wasn't Rowan and Fleming coming out. And speaking of Fleming, we talked about their rankings. They have Ashland tomorrow night. Ashland goes to McGoffin tonight. They go to Fleming tomorrow night. So that'll tell a lot on.
And I think that's one of the games we've been all as a group have been looking for, waiting for that Ashland-Fleming County matchup.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's going to tell us a lot about where we are with that. Is Ashland really in that second tier? Do we have another team that comes in that top tier? Or is it Boyd County and then another tier below it? Yeah. We're going to find out tomorrow evening.
I agree.
All right, over to the 62nd. Morgan County, no shocker here. They are the 1 seed. No matter what happens, they're locked in. They beat East Carter heads up. East Carter, their season in the district is done at 4 and 2. West Carter and Elliott County still have a game to play, and Morgan's got that 1 game to play as well. When you look at, Spencer, you've been in the 62nd all year long. Morgan County, a 5-point win there for the last game they played against East Carter, and they're still a player down. And you look at Morgan County, it's no secret, they are one of the perennial favorites in 62nd.
Oh, absolutely. They're the favorite. But one thing that's interesting about that tournament is it's going to be played in Allfield. You're going to probably, I just probably already said, you're going to get East and West in the first round. And for those who don't remember, West had East down 17-4 in the first half.
Yeah, that district is set. Yeah. I mean, that's the way it's going to play out.
So, that game right there, if East comes out, and I don't mean this in any derogatory way, but East should be favored in that game. If East comes out and plays like they can, that shouldn't be really a problem for them. It is what it is. But I'm telling you, when Jeremy gets his team dialed in, and they play like they did in that first half, and he did a really good job of mixing in zone there early. It really confused East Carter, and East Carter's guards really, and West Carter was able to make shots. Their guards weren't able to penetrate. They try to put Blake Hall in the middle there, and sometimes they'll ISO him, go 5 out or 4 out, and try to get Blake one-on-one down there. There's no one more dangerous in the lane, probably James in the 16th region than Blake Hall. That is going to be a heck of a matchup. Morgan County is definitely the favorite. Like you said, they're a player down, and they went to East Carter and won. That's not an easy place to. Coach E knows that's not an easy place to go and win.
They're actually 2 players down.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That Spencer kid didn't play either.
Yeah. Well, the Hoskins kid's a stud, man. I mean, he's so good. He's wearing a clear mask now. You didn't even act like it bothered him, man. He was just. If you give him a foot, it's over. He's splashing it, and it's almost like a missile. There's no arch behind his shot. It's whoom, it's to the basket, man. I mean, it's just. But go back to last year's regional. East Carter had Boyd County beat. The couple mistakes there, you can blame it on what you want to. The Skaggs kid had 25 points, and I really think that's hurt East Carter a little bit this year. They don't have a big guy, but really, who does though in the region? Who has a big guy? It's kind of the extinct thing in the area. No, you don't play with big guys anymore. You have guards, and East Carter, they're getting better each game. But we'll just have to wait and see. I'm interested to see how that goes.
Coach, you know all about the East-West battles, and when you get to the district as a coach, could you tell a difference with the intensity of the game, especially in a game like this when there's no safety nets? This is a win or take up jerseys type of game. Yeah. And especially this is at West Carter at John Hop Brown Court over at Olive Hill. And again, the gymnasiums are built the same. They just got different looks and everything to them. But it's just that familiarity of getting in the district and having a chance to knock off your district rival there, and West Carter on their home floor. They've got a great opportunity.
Yeah, you're exactly right about the intensity. That's going to be off the charts that night. And another thing we need to remember too, Houston in those two games played a grand total of about 4 minutes. And that's going to be a big difference in that game that night because he's going to take away a lot of the things that East Carter does inside, especially offensive rebounding.
He's so long.
Yeah, that's hurt West both times. And he's supposed to start playing again this week. So, we'll see about that. But, yeah, the place is going to be packed. Man, it's if you've never been to an East-West district game,
It's awesome.
You need to go.
You better get there early because the place will fill
Throw
up
the
very quick.
records out. So that game is just that is a brawl.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what I told Dickie a long time ago. I love people listening to us on the radio or watching on our Kool TV. I absolutely love that. But one thing that you miss by doing that is if you're at the game, it's the atmosphere in those district tournaments.
Yes.
The bands, the popcorn smell, the concessions, and you kind of miss that emotion and that intensity that those teams are going to play with. And I mean, man, it's going to be just a knockdown.
And two good coaches. I think Jeremy Webb and Cole Bramer are two of the most underrated coaches in the region. Both those guys know basketball. Jeremy Webb, you've seen him make deep runs in the region. Cole had Boyd County beat last year. He's kind of a newer coach, but you've seen the in-game adjustments for both these coaches, the planning that they have. They have good staffs, and when you have good coaches go along with good players and good communities, oh boy. Now, I will say the rivalry is not as intense as it was when you were coaching there. And part of that is because social media. Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
So back then it was, we'll meet you at the car wash after the game. So it's not really like that now, but
when I was in high school, if you were in East Carter, you could go to Wild Hill by yourself. Let's just put it out that way, okay? And if you were West Carter, you'd come to Grayson by yourself.
This is true, guys. You'll think I'm making this up.
Here we go.
Back before I was coaching, back in the 50s, 60s, I've been told for a fact, everybody knows where the city building's at right there, the fire
Right.
department and everything, and where they have, playground equipment and everything. Now, that used to be an open lot. People from Olive Hill would come to Grayson on Saturdays, and they would form a big circle, and they would just square off and fight. For one to quit. I've been told that that's true.
I'd say that's probably a true statement.
But
I'm sure they probably do that somewhere else.
I'm sure. Probably so.
But you're right, because of social media and everything,
Yeah.
it's not like that anymore, but it'll be intense.
Obviously, we're kidding, yeah.
Yeah. Over to the 63rd, Greenup. What a year that they've had. Again, they've kind of up and down a little bit, but they've taken care of business in their district. And the most important thing is they're 4-0. Russell's at 4-1, Raceland at 1-4, Lewis County at 0-4. Big one with Raceland and Lewis County. We'll play this Friday night. We'll have that game right here on Kool TV when Lewis County comes in for Raceland. Raceland wins that one. They are locked in at the 3. Lewis County will be the 4. And then you've got Greenup and Russell Russell has fallen to Greenup in both of those games. So Greenup at this point, they've got a possibility of the one if they win one more of their 2 games, it's in.
Right. Those two teams actually play again.
Yeah, they play
That's right. They've got one more coming up.
You've
Actually, this
got
Friday.
Derek Cooksey yelling over the TV right now.
I forgot, Derek. I'm sorry. I was getting my dates confused. So they've got Russell this Friday. They've got Lewis County next week. That's the one that's still coming up. So Greenup still got those 2. But again, a win by Greenup over Russell this week on Friday night, that takes care of no matter whatever happens. If they would split and then Greenup beats Lewis, then it becomes a coin flip the way the 63rd plays out because
So
they
that
split.
answers your question, Dylan.
Yeah, Dylan Bostic in there's drops a few questions in, and we'll get to the dates a little bit later on the show too as well. But that's how the 63rd district plays out. If you have head-to-head, same district title, the district rankings, then it's just a coin flip for seeing who gets that first seed.
Don't let Derek flip the coin. He's got two-tailed coin.
Well, that's just Derek Cookson.
That's correct.
Call tails.
Coaches, when you look at this and you see where this is, it's at the greenhouse. And again, the greenhouse is such a difficult place to play because it's an open-air gymnasium. The only place else in the region is like that's Boyd County. And Coach Bradley, when you look at that type of atmosphere, it's going to be electric. You're going to pack a ton of people in there. You're going to have rivalry matchups right out of the gate, no matter which team's playing who. this is going to be a great atmosphere that's going to be a great prelude going into the region.
It is. You know, I look at all 4 of those gyms, and yeah, you're right. Wherever you're playing, it's going to be a huge advantage. Obviously, Lewis County, you know, Scotty would love to get the district there, and he wouldn't care who he's playing. You know, Greenup or Russell, it wouldn't matter. But yeah, that's going to put him in a big hole right starting off right at the bat. But it looks like he probably will get Greenup, even though Russell may beat Greenup this Friday. Did you say if Greenup beats Lewis, they get it anyway?
Yeah, because then they would be no. If Greenup falls to Russell and Greenup beats Lewis, then they're both at 5-1. They flip a coin because they split.
I gotcha.
If Greenup beats Russell, it doesn't matter what happens in that Lewis County game.
Yeah.
Greenup's the 1 seed because the worst they could finish would be 5-1. Russell would be 4-2. So, so a lot riding on the game with Greenup and Russell for that 1 seed. Raceland, Lewis County playing for the 3 seed for Raceland. If Raceland loses that game, if Lewis County can knock off Greenup in that final matchup, then that would put Raceland and Lewis County in a tie, and they would be a split. So then they flip for the 3 and 4. So, like I said, 63rd is going to 63rd every single year.
And Raceland had Russell down double digits the other night.
Yeah, they did. So 23-2 run didn't help that matter.
1 and 4 in the district had the number 2 team in the district as of now down double digits, and Russell was fortunate to win that game, man.
Yeah.
So
and that was at the Marv. So, all right, over to the 64th, Boyd County, Ashland, and Fairview. Again, a 3-team district. Rose Hill, they're still a part of the district, but they've only played Fairview. And I talked with their head coach at the beginning of the year, and he said, you know, we're not going to get anything out of playing Boyd County and Ashland.
No, they will not.
Now, I believe, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong on this, you may know this for sure, I believe they are going to participate in the district tournament, but I'm not 100% certain. I've asked that at the beginning of the year, and I was led to believe that they were, but again, they've only played Fairview in the district this year. So district it's Fairview's district, but it will be held at Boyd County Middle School in the big gym. So that will play out. So you've got Boyd County, that is the 1 seed. They'll play the winner of Ashland and Fairview in the championship game. And again, it's take it for what it's worth, but it's Boyd Ashland Part 3. It's kind of the same thing over. It's another collection of scary movies. Just take your pick of which one it's going to be year after year. But it's going to be a phenomenal atmosphere, and you got to think Boyd County on their home floor. It's got to be a good thing.
They should put Holy Family in that district.
Well, we just
They've been in that district.
Well, we were talking a few minutes ago about how good Boyd County is, and they are. They're probably the most explosive team in the region. But let's not forget, Ashland probably should have won that game the other night when they went to Boyd.
They should have.
With 5 minutes to go.
They were up double digits in the 4th.
12 minutes with 5 minutes left in the game. Or 12 points with 5 minutes left in the game. And guys, I love Spurlock. I do. I think he's a tremendous player. But to me, Ashland's got the best player in the region. I think Xander Carter is the best player. And I was watching that game the other night. Not only does Boyd County not have anybody that can guard him one-on-one, nobody does. I mean, when that kid wanted to go to the basket, unless Boyd County helped and rotated over, he got to the basket.
Yes.
And he took 22 shots. If it was me, I would have wanted him to take 35 that night. They couldn't guard him. And you guys are right. That's going to be a tremendous atmosphere again, and it'll be a barn burner.
You know how it'll turn out, don't you? Boyd will beat them again in the national beam at the region. That's how. That's what'll happen. Hey, I'm not the only one that's thinking
that.
Listen,
it's always hard to say. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in one season.
Yeah.
And Boyd County, Ashland, you're going to see them for. I think it's a guarantee you'll see them in the district championship.
Yep.
And then they're going to draw opposite. And again, this is another thing.
Yep.
You look at the district tournament on the boys' side. You're a district champion, and you're going to draw Boyd County or Ashland your first-round game.
Good reward.
Good reward for that one right there. I mean, there's just no better way to look at it.
Congratulations.
Congratulations on that one. And Coach, to your point about Xander, the progression that young man has made from the time I remember when he was a 7th grader with a squeaky voice that sounded like Dennis the Menace. And I know Steve and Heather are they're great people, and I remember him walking around at Greenup, and he's like, "Hey, you Mr. Collier," and now you look at him, and he's a young man. And, I mean, he has physically transformed his body, and when he steps on the floor, there is no secret, that's the dude for Ashland.
Well, year before last, when he was a freshman, Dickie and I did the Ashland game at Russell. And he came, that's the first time we saw Ashland. He came out to jump, and I had the rosters there in front of me, and they had him listed at 6'1". I said, that kid's at least 6'4". I said, there's no way he's 6'1". He's probably 6'5" or better now. But he is. He's just a tremendous player. Man, and you're right, James, about the maturity, the growth that he's had in his game. And like I said, 22 shots sounds like a lot, but really, he could have taken more. He's still
Him and Spurlocker.
Everybody's going to think I'm stupid, but 22 shots, and he was still very unselfish, I thought, watching the game.
Yeah, he distributes the basketball very well.
Yeah.
He's very unselfish, and sometimes maybe a little too unselfish.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to watch the way that he has progressed. And funny story about you talk about his height. When he played at Greenup with his older brother, there was one night that his older brother got a little upset because he felt like I cheated him on his height. And I said, well, I'll show you. So when I announced the starting lineup, they were both in the starting lineup that night. So Zane was listed at 6'3.5", and I called him 6'3". Xander was like 5'9". So when I announced the starting lineups that evening, Zane was 5'9". Xander was 6'4". And Steve and Heather got a big kick out of that one. So, all right, guys, we've broke it all down. Coach Bradley, I'll start with you down there. If you today, right now, had to pick 2 teams on both sides that you say, here's your region championship game, who's it going to be?
I'm going girls, Ashland Russell, and boys, Ashland Boyd.
Okay, Coach E?
Not just because I love him, but I'd have to go the same way right now. I think you said today, and
Yeah.
today.
Are we picking a region winner?
No region winner. Just who we think's going to be that region in that region championship.
I think he's got it right. I think those are the 2 championship games.
Jacob?
Yeah, I agree with them too.
Easy. Yeah.
Easy.
Well, I think the boys is more up in the air. I think the girls is pretty cut and dried. But don't be surprised if we all get down there to Morehead and maybe Ashland or Boyd's missing out of that regional final. I'm telling you, it could happen.
Well, I'm going to be the odd duck out, and only because if I wouldn't be sticking to my guns that I've been saying all season long.
You have.
But I've said this year there's one team that we've talked a little bit about, but we didn't talk a whole lot about them, and they've got some unfinished business because I believe it was first time in 12 years they had missed the regional tournament, and that's Rowan County.
Yeah.
And Sean Thacker has got a different-looking team. It's not Syracuse anymore. It's not 2-3 zone. It's up in your face. They get it and go. They're 5 guards. They're going to press. They shoot the 3. And when it comes to March, we used to say Mr. March was Joe Hampton. You've also got to talk about Mr. March being Sean Thacker. And I think that Rowan County, we're going to find a lot about where Ashland and Fleming County sit with that. You see how Rowan County took care of Fleming on their home floor. But don't count the Vikings out, especially if they get a favorable draw and they can stay away from Boyd County that side of the bracket.
Well, where's that game at?
Which game?
Fleming County National.
Fleming.
That one's at Fleming.
Oh.
And then Ashland or Boyd and Fleming play, I think, either next week or the week after in Fleming County.
See, we were scheduled to have East Carter Fleming on yesterday.
Yeah.
And that game got canceled. That would have been something to watch, too.
I think you're right, James, about maybe Rowan County needing to be on the opposite side of the bracket from Boyd. Because I've had teams.
That's a bad matchup for them.
Yeah, everybody that's coached has had teams like this. Bill will tell you this. Sometimes you want to beat a team too bad. And I watched that first Rowan County, Boyd County game, and I'd watched Rowan County play before that. And, man, they were moving, cutting, playing just so rhythm and everything. And they got against Boyd County, and it was one pass and a shot, or somebody comes straight down. They just wanted to beat them too bad, and they got totally out of character with the way they had been playing. If they're going to beat Boyd County, and I agree with you, it's a possibility, they're going to have to just, hey, take a deep breath, guys, calm down, let's go out here and play our game no matter who we're playing. That's what it'd take to beat them.
Now, while we're in the 61st and we're talking this as we wrap things up, let's not sell short Fleming County because Buddy Biggs knows how to coach basketball, and he's a heck of a basketball coach. He's had his successes, and Coach, you've had them a couple times this year, and you've said it. I've heard you talk about it on your show. They've got maybe the best guard duo in the region because of how the Hickerson kid is phenomenal, and the Jolly kid. I mean, they've got the pieces there. Can you put together that one night of special basketball and knock off somebody you're not supposed to? I think Fleming County's in that conversation. The conversation I'm looking forward to having, though, is on Saturday when we find out after Fleming County and Ashland have played, and we see what the outcome on that one is. I think that tells us a lot about what we've got.
I agree 100%, James, and I love the Jolly kid. And if you watch Fleming County play, Buddy plays same way just about every game. It's 2-2-1 to slow you down, hope you make a mistake. We still, get an easy basket, but it's back into a 2-3. And Jolly is 5'10" maybe, and he plays the back on that 2-3. So and he'll fight. He'll have double-figure rebounds a lot of games, but he plays back there so he can, hey, rebound, and we're gone. We're running. I mean, he's gone, and when you play Fleming, you better have your transition defense buttoned up.
A little off topic here. There's a kid that doesn't get enough publicity in this region because of where he's at. It's not anything, against them. There's just not a lot of media where they're at. It's Menifee County, the Ricker kid.
Yeah.
I got to see him in person. You want to talk about a kid that can, as soon as he gets across midcourt, he can shoot the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, that kid
he's in
good,
range,
man.
He comes across the timeline. He's in range.
Yeah, I think that kid deserves a lot of credit. And nothing against Fleming or Menifee County, but they don't have a lot of media down there. They don't have a newspaper that covers them. Fortunately, we were able to cover one of their games out at East Carter. That was one of the best shooters I've seen this year.
And Coach, we had him up at LE County in the All-A and got to watch him up there.
He's a good player.
We did, and I guess this would be the ultimate sign of respect. In the All-A on that Saturday game, Fairview and Menifee played. Fairview played a triangle too.
Yeah.
Put both players on Rickers.
Yeah, I mean,
The two was on the one guy.
Yeah. He is so good.
Yeah.
He's good.
That's what he does. All right, so real quick, last question we had that popped up in the comments. When is district tournament week? Well, that's going to start, what should start, the Monday, the 26th of this month. We'll probably run through March 1st. Typically, we do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Girls Championship will play first, then the boys. Region draw will be on March 2nd. That'll be at Morehead over at the ADUC Center. We'll have the live draw from there.
We'll all be there, won't we?
Yeah, we'll probably all be there.
Except for Coach Bradley. I don't think he's been allowed back.
Yeah, he usually gets up and has breakfast in bed as he's listening to us.
Yeah.
But we'll have the region brackets. We'll break everything down. We'll make our picks, and we will make region tournament picks in that broadcast. But that's on March 2nd. Regional tournament starts up on March 4th over at Morehead State. 4th through the 8th will be 2 games a night. The 9th should be your girls championship. Then back on the 11th and 12th in the boys semifinals and the boys championship. Girls state championship starts on Wednesday, March 13th down at Rupp Arena. That's 13th, 14th, 15th championship on the 16th. And then the boys are back the next week. They start on the 20th and go through the 23rd. And again, all the boys action, you can hear it right here on the Kool Sports Network from every game down there, from tip to the final buzzer sounding. And we name a state champion. Guys, this was fun. We certainly appreciate all you guys coming out here and working out with us tonight. This was a very enjoyable thing. But now the people who read our polls each week, they can put a face to a name. So if you want to throw some shade, you know who you're throwing shade toward now.
People have been cussing me for years.
Well, that's just part of your you make it easy to do, okay?
And this was your idea, a great idea.
Yeah.
Really, we appreciate you having us and
a lot of fun.
feeding us.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. Getting to
Appreciate
see everybody
that.
here.
Absolutely,
really
guys.
Appreciate you doing it, James.
Guys, I appreciate all you guys too for jumping in this year and building the poll. I think it's really drawn a lot of attention, and I think it's something that we like to do. It makes it entertaining, and we've got a wealth of knowledge across the board here, from the 2 coaches to me, Spencer, that's been around, and the new guy with Jacob here and with us. And of course, don't forget about Ben Spicer. He's down in Florida, but he's still hanging in with us. Ben, we miss you, but man, we wish you the best of luck, and Godspeed to you down there with everything that you do. You're off on big things, my man, and we love watching you be successful. We miss you here, but we know you're in the best place that you possibly be for your career. So, guys, that's going to wrap it up. Couple of weeks, we got district tournaments coming up. Stay tuned with us here. Again, if you've not done so, hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up if you see stuff you like. Hit that bell each time we put out new material. It'll alert you on your mobile device so you can keep up everything going on with the Kool Sports Network. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. It's at Kool Sports. Jacob is he's in full control of the ship now, so he's out there getting all the information out there. So we'll get plenty of information out there. If you got stuff for us, send it to us. We'll retag it and post it out there. For the coaches, Coach Bradley, Coach E, for Jacob Spencer, I'm James Collier. Thanks for tuning in. This has been the 16th Region Basketball District's preview show here on the Kool Sports Network. Good night, everyone.